Time to welcome in a friend of Erie News Now at 7 o'clock, Dr. Fred Hoffman from Mercyhurst University. Fred, let's talk about Operation Midnight Hammer, how successful it was, how much planning goes into it.
Well, this is not something that you can plan from one day to the next. There were weeks. They probably dusted off a plan that was months, if not years, in the making. All right, and it was incredibly complex because you had 125 aircraft, B-2 bombers, you had surveillance aircraft, you had support aircraft, you had refueling aircraft, fighters. So, and 125 aircraft went in, and 125 flew out.
How do you think it came to this? Did negotiations break down? Was this always on the president's mind? How do you think we got to this point here where we ended up bombing Iran's nuclear sites?
Well, I think for one thing that the Pentagon does a phenomenal job of planning. Okay, all possible contingencies, all possible options, and I think this was sort of in one of the palette of options that the president had, and he got to the point where he and his senior advisors said, "Okay, the negotiations are going nowhere. We have to hit them with the hammer." So that's how that came about. But like I said, this is not something that just cooked up from one day to the next.
Fred, you think about those pilots in the air for over 30 hours straight. How difficult was that assignment?
Well, let me tell you, if I fly to Europe and it's a 7.5 hour flight, I'm like ready to kill somebody when I get off the plane. All right. So to think about a pilot, by the way, it's 36 hours, 7,085 miles one way, two people flying in the plane. Hopefully they liked each other. But that's a long trip. And they're equipped. They have a sleeping facility there. They have a microwave. They've got a bathroom, obviously. But still, and they've got to do in-flight refueling. And oh, by the way, they're flying into a denied area, right, where there's air defense and all this kind of stuff. So very stressful and very difficult. And I tip my hat to the execution. Where you sit determines how you stand, right? So look at where he's sitting right now. He's got a population that doesn't like the government. He's got his Basij militia that he uses basically to beat up and arrest people and abuse them. So the population basically does not like their own government. He knows that. And they took a real black eye from what not only what we did, but the Israelis have been pounding them, not only from the air, but also taking out their senior government officials, IRGC, nuclear weapons related scientists. So, but he's not going to come out and say, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, we shouldn't have done that." No, he's going to put on as happy a face as he can because he's got to try to hold things together.